Good morning. Jesus Christ. My head looks so fat. My God. So it's early in the morning. I just happened to look on my Facebook and I had that story about Dan Ingram, the Ling guy there. Well, his brother, I know him pretty well too, Tom. And Tom wrote in the comments, in the mid 90s, I was working with Jeff Losano at Star Market Bakery. You guys look nothing alike. Well, the answer is I'm adopted. Uh, if you took a family photo of the Losano family, especially if it was in the summer, I was clearly darker than everybody else. And I mean, did the mailman come by one day and yeah, so that's why we don't look alike. Which remind me of a story about Jeff when he was younger. He got mugged in Swampscott. Well, strong arm robbery. Um, so this is the story. Back in probably the early 1980s. Because I was in high school and Jeff was in the middle school. This is summertime. And Jeff comes home. I was with a friend of mine. I don't know who it was with. And Jeff was all upset. And I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I just got robbed. I go, you just got robbed? I'm like, this is broad daylight. And he's like, yeah, I was down at the Fisherman's Beach. And at the time, I think it was White Hen. They served subs or sandwiches. No, it was a sub. And he tells me he was with a bunch of his friends, enjoying the nice summer day. 3 kids came up, and he was eating a sub, and one of the kids grabbed his sub and started eating it. Of course, Jeff, he's just a kid. These kids were in high school. Someone said to the kid that took my brother's sub, that's Joe Losano's brother. And I guess the kid started talking shit. Oh, yeah, I'm not scared of him, this and that. Well, he ends up giving Jeff $1 for the sub, to pay for the sub. So he described the kids. I knew who they were, and I'm not going to say their names because years went by, and they ended up being pretty good guys. I mean, they were just young and stupid, so I'm not going to use their names, even though it was only one that really did it. So when my brother's telling me the story, I'm like, looking at my friend, I'm like, so finally I looked at Jeff and go, I'll look into it. So I did. I looked into it, and it was true. Jeff was there eating his sub, and these fucking kids, one of them grabbed his sub and fucking threw him $1. So a few weeks go by, and I'm with my, at the time, he was my best friend, Bill McSweeney. And Bill McSweeney is not a fighter. Zero. Not a fighter. So the middle school up on Greenwood Ave, there's a path there behind the building. You go down to Fuller. Well, we're going to my house, me and Bill. And we're going up the path. Well, guess who was coming down? 3 guys. I'm not going to use their names, so I'm going to say Mo, Larry, and Curly. All right? Mo, Larry, Curly. Larry is the one that took my brother's sub. So I'm looking up there. I'm like, hey, Bill, is that Larry? He looks and he's like, yeah. And Bill knows what's going on. He's like, yeah, oh, Joe. No, don't start anything. I'm like, why not? I go, there's only 3 of them. He goes, Joe, don't start anything. I go, why? He goes, because there's only 1.5 of us. I just looked at him. I go, fine. So they came down, and I stopped and I go, hey, guys, picking on my brother? Like that. And they just had the fucking shittiest grin on their face. And Bill just stepped back. So it's just me against these three guys. And they're like, yeah. Yeah, Larry was like, yeah, I took your brother's sub, but I paid for it. I go, you gave him a fucking $1. Yeah, well, basically, he tell me to fuck off. And I was like, all right, look, all three of you are down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch you, then I'm going to punch you, and then I'm going to punch you. And they just kind of looked at each other. Boom, boom, boom. It was over. Oh, yeah. Hey, the phone fell out. I'm sorry. Yep, fight was over. Yep, all on the ground. And I told Larry, I go ahead. You fuck with my brother again, it's going to be worse. And I looked down, and Larry had this leather bracelet on with spikes on it. I'm like, hey, that's a nice bracelet you got there. So I grabbed it. And I go, here, here's a fucking $1. So I went up the trail to my house, and, Bill's just shaking his head. He's like, oh, Joe. I'm like, that's what they get for fucking robbing people. So I go home, and I see Jeff. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, Joe. I'm like, hey, here's a present from Larry. So, and he kept it for years. He kept that bracelet for years. But like I said, later on in time, Mo, Larry, and Curly, they ended up being all right guys. So, anyways, that's the story for this morning.